Okay, so we're back with another day of modding here. So for today, we're going to continue working on the client's generator mod for the first half of this video, and then we're going to start taking a look at what we need to do for ICBM to get it ported this coming week up to 1.8. So where we left off, we kind of got the generator working. It's functional. It'll run. We've got display. We've got input-output slots. Now, a few things we still have to finish up. We need to make it blatantly obvious that this is an input slot and blatantly obvious this is an output slot. Right now, you can't stick anything in the output slot, so that will help. You can't stick anything in the input slot unless it's a fuel slot, but we need to make it very clear that that is the case as the client who was commissioning this mod wants this to basically be played by toddlers. So if you put a 3-year-old in front of this computer, they should be able to understand how this works, which is a far stretch, but we're going to head that direction. So before we do that, though, when I was making part of this recording earlier, I went ahead and did some work here. We needed to do fuel consumption. We needed to drop the fuel consumption down because if we look at like a Buildcraft engine, it takes 100,000 ticks to consume a bucket of fuel. Ours was taking like 50 seconds, or in other words, 1,000 ticks. So we've changed this, and now we're up to 20,000 ticks to consume it, which is not too bad. This will be configurable, so the client will be able to change the amount of fuel consumed per tick and the amount of delays it runs at. And we're going to change this fuel consumed per run and delay between runs. So these will both be fuel settings, and we'll note that up here. And this is our power setting. And this is our tank volume setting. Slots. And these actually, this top one is actually no longer used. Except for right there. Because we got rid of our supported fuel things. So, supported tiles to power. And like everything up here except for these slots right here are going to be configurable. So you'll be able to add supported tiles to this. You'll be able to change how much this is going. And by the way, when I mean we, it's the client's going to be able to do this. This is one of his mods, and he's only going to be using in his mod pack, so you guys, the users, are probably never going to be able to get access to it. But I probably will make more mods similar to this in the future. This is a pretty good concept to have a easy button mode power generating. I do have to ensure that I don't make something close to what he has, because he wants to have this unique pack that his users play with, and I want to make sure he has that unique pack. But for right now, we're going to work on is we're going to get this functioning right here, so we can drain fluid containers. Now we should have some fluid containers here, so we should have wooden buckets that we can put lava in, and one of these tanks should already have lava in it. And if I can find it, unfortunately, it might be a little tricky to find. I'm not seeing it. It's probably because it's not on the list of supported fluids by default. Because what we're seeing here is we're not seeing every fluid that can possibly exist. We are seeing only the fluids I have textures for, which even though cobalt looks like it's water, that is actually cobalt's texture from tankers. We went ahead and replicated it just for our mods, so that way when you go and you look at our buckets and they have cobalt in them, they look like they match the tankers buckets, which are up here. That way the user doesn't have any difference, doesn't have a gap in evaluation. So we're going to need to get some lava here, so that means we're going to want to get some lava buckets. And I wish I had something to produce lava here so we can just infinite supply it. Right now I'm just going to do this. I know this doesn't do what I'm thinking it does, but it'll work. So game mode 0, so we can fill up our bucket. Okay, we have lava in here. And then game mode 1. And then I'm going to duplicate this, so that way we have a couple. And we're going to put it in here. It'll go into the slot because it identifies as a bucket for that fluid. It'll validate this first check, and it will go, okay, how much room we have left versus how much we have. So this one will give us a full bucket of lava is what we'll get. So if we put a debug break line here, and we weren't on, oh, we got to do reload here. It's not going to let me reload. Well, I don't even know why it opened that up. But, oh yeah, because we can't access that file. Because it is currently in use. We need to restart the game because I changed a couple lines of code at the top. So get that restarted and then we'll test this. So what this is going to do is validate. It's going to go, it is a fluid container. And we make sure we always go for iFluid item first before we check if it's a container. The reason we do this is because things can be registered as containers but operate as fluid items. You'll see this break in certain mods like Railcraft has this a problem in there. I think they finally did fix it where they were validating container before item, and it was causing weird issues. Like you would go throw it in and it would not work, or it would eat the bucket, or would not spit the bucket out properly. So many problems. Speaking of problems, we gotta figure out how to get this to work. So we got the amount of room left, and we're gonna pretty much code this exactly the same. There's not gonna really be much of a difference here. The difference is how we have to handle it. So we're not a fluid container here, so we can't just call drain fluid. So we're gonna have to get the container from the item. And actually, no, we don't need it because we're going to just toss it to the output slot here. So we're going to go, okay, if it is empty, we're going to throw it in the output slot. If not, we're just going to drain it. What we want to do is right here, we're going to go, okay, if it's empty, so how are we going to determine emptiness? So this is going to be bucket stack, by the way. So we need every spot we see container replace with bucket stack. Okay, bucket stack is not going to be null because we got down here already, so that's good. And we have output here. This is just being weird right here. So we need to determine some way it's empty. Yeah, we need to do that real quick. Tank.fill actually needs to run up here now. So we're going to go, okay, if room is greater than 0, pretty much. And we want to then just do that. Because we can drain the tank while it's in the slot and not have to worry about it. The problem we actually are going to have is if the stack size isn't quite right. So we come down here, we want to go, okay, if it matches, but we want to go, okay, if bucket stack dot stack size equals 1. Because if you have a multiple stack of items, somehow you broke it, and it did that. And it would try to consume fuel out of every bucket at the same time. And it would inevitably just pretty much break support. And there are ways around it, but it's not going to function properly. So we're just going to ignore it if it has that problem. We may even come down here and go, okay, go else. To do if containers are stacked, eject containers. That way, it fixes itself. Might cause some item loss, but it'll fix itself. Let's go back in here though, and we don't actually want that to run because that'll probably break here in a second. Probably should have finished the code first before we did that. Okay, so we want to go int filled. So that's how much we actually put into the tank. Then we want to go, okay, bucket stack dot get item dot drain, and then we want to throw a bucket stack back in there. Amount we stuck in there in true. So this is how we get our fluid. That's how much stored. Then we drain it, which will give us yeah, it just drains it. We don't care if it comes out exactly. Fill tank, drain bucket, which then will drain our stack item. We then figure out. So what we do is we're going to go, okay, if bucket stack dot get item dot get fluid bucket stack equals null. So if it's null, we want to throw it in the output slot. If it's not, there's still fluid in it, and we want to continue draining it. So we go get fluid here. This should, in theory, null if the container is empty. So it should be null. So if people have read the API correctly and set their API correctly, then it should function properly. If empty, eject to output slot. So good. Should work. Looks like it worked. Boom. That was easy. Okay, we don't duplicate this over and over again. Now, one thing with the gas can item, I eventually need to get around to finishing it because it's actually meant to have 5 buckets into it, not just 1, which we'll probably do here in a bit. But we added support for fluid containers now. That means you can take an IC2 fluid cell and stick in here and it would function. And I'm going to end up copying this code over to Voltage here later, so any machine we have that needs fluid support will have it. And this will come into play with the sentry guns particularly because there's going to be a couple fluid-based sentry guns. There will be upgrades for sentry guns. For example, you can put a fuel generator in the sentry gun that then will power the sentry gun. That'll be an upgrade for it. Not all of them will have that, but why are you flipping between a powered and... Oh, yeah, I didn't know what you're doing. I messed up the power generator code. Okay, so what we want to do if we want to go is powered. We then want to make sure we're always dumping power out. So we only want to check our power cycle every tick. Only update power cycle every so many ticks. There we go. We rerun that, that should work now. There we go, it's got power now. We go, okay, GUI update, power devices nearby. And my phone vibrated. Why do I care about the NBA playoff? Whatever. My phone's weird. It's like, here, you should go buy some NBA tickets. It's like, I have never watched basketball in my life. Actually, I take it back. I have watched it a few times. But, shoot. There we go. Good, good. We're all good on here. Now we just gotta do our GUI component, which I gotta figure out how we're gonna do precisely. At least we're delayed on the fuel consumption, so that's pretty good. We do need to do an on-off state on here too, so we're gonna hit that up as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and we're gonna do something in here. This is not exactly organized. This should be up here. Should always go public, protected, then private. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, but it does really help on navigation. So we're going to turned on equals true. And then we just got to make sure we save that, and then we got to make sure we synchronize that to the client as well. So we're going to go, okay, turned on equals mbt.hasKey turned on. And we go mbt.getBoolean. There we go. And we go down here, we just want to go, okay, mbt.setBoolean. That should work. And then our read write, we just kind of just want to rewrite it, so there's nothing special here. It's just mbt or not mbt, buff dot read boolean, and then it'll be buff dot write boolean. Cool. And we just got to add some buttons to the GUI, and we just got to add some packet handling. So packet handling, and yeah, we don't have a read method here, so we're just going to go real quick and type this in so we can go get the method. So we want to make sure you set up a packet for your buttons, because what you want is you don't want to be sending a description packet back and forth, because remember, we're sending a tank here, so somebody could cheat and be messing with your stuff. Anyways, I'm going to go super .read buff id player and type. Make sure we return true here, false here, because what we're doing is we're going, okay, if we didn't read our packet on the super, so if it wasn't that description packet, because that's the only packet we have on the super, then we want to do stuff. And then we go, okay, is this server, because we want to be doing our packet IDs in certain orders. When we're going to go, okay, if ID equals 1, for example, return true because we're going to read it, but this will just be turned on equals buff.read boolean. There you go. And then we just make a method public okay, I'll have to talk to Demon here later. So what we want to do, we want to set on state boolean state, and then we turned on equals state, and then we go, okay, if is client, or do we not have an is client? Yeah, we do. There it is. Then what we want to do is we want to send a packet. So I'm going to go, okay, send packet to server. And then we go get host dot get packet for data. And then we go 1, and then we want to go turn on state, or we want to go state real quick. That way we update the server properly, and then you could use this server side if you want to. So if you can call the server side and it won't trigger this, then you can do whatever you want. And let's see what DMod was asking about. The blarg. Okay, he's I don't know why he started talking to me in the work chat only for some reason. Okay, so we'll call this from our button press. This will enable our on-off state, and we'll have 2 buttons. One will do on, one will do off. And then what is our other, what we need to do? We need to just render the fluidity container and then do a tooltip for it. Apparently, oh yeah, we still have this down here. I was like, we have a bug somewhere. It's like, oh, it's because we didn't remove that line. So we go to the GUI, and we need to do a knit GUI. And then we just kind of more or less need to copy the top half here. Do this, do that. And we need to add a button. So this would be button 9 pix, except instead of doing that whole thing, we need to do new on button. And this will be button ID 0, and then we'll just do 10 for the moment. Why is it having problems finding? Oh, because it's not a new symbol. It's we need to do that. Okay. And then we need the off button, which will be here. I believe we do need to cache these because we need to do the on-off enable state for them. So we need to go private GUI button 9 pix on button, and then it'll be private GUI button 9 pix off button. And then just go on button here, off button here, and then let's do this 9 over, and then we'll do like int x equals, yeah, we'll do that real quick. That way we can just go x and x plus 9. Nope, wrong button. Actually, you know what? Let me go take a look at the Armory mod and see how we're handling our buttons, so we don't have to just sit here and do a ton of work. Okay, so let's see. Armory mod, content, century. God damn it. Ah. Okay. There we go. So yeah, we got our on-off button up here. We create it. Yeah, it's just one of the things I wanted to check to see if the off button was to the left or the right. It's to the right, so we're good there. Then we do our enabled status, which we do need to make sure we're doing. So we're going to want to copy this. Because else you'd be able to press both buttons and you'd just be kind of wasting time. So this will be... Speaking of which, we can actually get rid of this now. That's actually stored. No, it's actually not stored in the super. It's the container that's got that stored in the super. Blarg, I was about to make a mistake. Whatever, cast. Okay. Why aren't these set up properly? They are set up properly, it's just generics for the win. They don't ever want to work, because the set enabled should return E, and E should be an instance of 9 pix, but then it doesn't really handle properly. So we got those are set up correctly. And then the part I wanted to look at is the button click, how we're handling button click states right now. We're not really doing anything with it. We're just sending it. I'm assuming the description packet is then re-updating it. So, yeah, we don't need to do anything with that. Although we should just have copied and pasted it anyways, so that way I could have got the the action button methods. I didn't have to type it in. Cool. And this is just going to be, so we're going to want to make sure to change our button ID. So this will be button 0, this is button 1. And then we want to go generator dot set on state, and then we want to go true, and then the other one, generator set on state false. There we go. And we just want to change the tip on here. So this is not saying it's a sentry gun. So that gives us our on-off state on our generator, so you can turn it on and off. Then we need to go in our power generator, and we just need to make sure we turn it off, pretty much. We still want it to consume fuel, even though if it's off, just because that's easier. But we want to go, okay, turned on, and doing this. Yeah, we're gonna do it up here. I'm sitting here staring at it like there needs to be a little better handling there, and we'll do it like that. And then we'll go else, and actually we don't really need to do anything else there because it turns off the whole cycle and pretty much stops at mid-power cycle. So we don't need to update it is powered, because then when somebody turns it on, it'll turn right back on. It'll be right at where it was left at, pretty much. Might have a bit of a tweak between consuming fuel, but that's not too big of a deal. That's like a minor nuisance. Everything else looks good, but this will be on-off state pretty much. Cool. Nothing else really we need to do here. We just now need to display on our GUI pretty much the fuel timer and the fuel tank, which we needed to draw in the background. Estimated fuel time has to come down actually here, because you do all your text inside the foreground. It has to do with the way it renders, so we'll have to toy with that real quick. But the fuel tank's going to be the tricky part because of the fact of how I have to render it. I've got to render the fuel itself. I then got to render a background gauge, and then I got to render a foreground gauge. So there's like 3 renders for this. So it'd be background, fuel, and then gauge. We have fuel tanks, but they're not the size that I need. Because if we actually go to Volts Engine here, so go source, main, resources, content, Volts Engine. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Assets is where I wanted to go. Textures, GUI. So if we go here, we do have a fluid gauge right here. So you see this right here. These 3 parts are part of the fluid gauge system. The only difference is instead of using this bar, which we would use for like gases and stuff, we would just use the background here, and we would use the foreground here. So we do want that foreground piece because we're going to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And you know, I'm going to have to actually copy a few things here. So we're going to copy this first, and then we're going to go to our commission folder here, because we're going to have to work on making a GUI. So textures, and then we want to make a GUI folder. I think it's just called GUI. Let me check over here. Yeah, that's important because of the way the path system works. So this will be fuel generator. We'll just go _gen. Oh, come on, Taz. No, not this time. Okay, so I think this is the one we need, because we're not using this one. It is by default, I believe it uses this one, but we could switch to this one if we didn't want to render the player background slots, but I think we're just going to go render them all. At least I think we are. Because yeah, it's displaying the current slots as it is, so we're using the empty slot background. So we want to continue using the empty back slot background, but like right here at the bottom, we're going to put our fuel gauge. So we're going to need to figure out what our size is for it and how big we want to make it. For starters, let's just get a back line here real quick. You know, let's open this up in GIMP real quick so we can get a layered effect, so I can layer it where I kind of want to put it inside the GUI real quick. Fortunately, we saved this while it was, hopefully it doesn't, it's going to grab up that stuff on the side here. Let me make sure I color code that first before I hit the delete button. Because then what I can do real quick is I can just do this and fill it back in. There we go. I think it looks okay. Okay. So we're going to have a player inventory at the bottom here. I'm going to have to go grab... Yeah, I need to go grab the player inventory. Just open this up again and we'll go back a folder. Like, nothing's organized here, unfortunately, so it's a little tricky to find things that I need. So main, resources, assets, Volts engine, textures, GUI. Okay, so this is, I believe, the one we sort of are kind of using. So I'm going to go like this real quick. I'm then going to only copy this part of it. I'm then going to invert selection. So I'm going to go selection, invert. I'm going to delete everything else, and if we remove the background, you see this no longer there, but then we know where our inventory slots are now. So that's going to be precisely where they're at on the screen, and then we can disappear them if we don't need them. We're going to go ahead and file save this, and yeah, we'll just save it in the GUI folder. So we know where everything is. We know we're going to have a text bar at the top, and we have a couple slots in various spots. So let me go ahead and copy the slot here. By the way, we're not going to be exporting the slots with this stuff in it. We just kind of are trying to figure out how big our GUI kind of is. So what we're trying to do is figure out where we're going to put the fuel tank at, pretty much. So our fuel tank is kind of going to need to be like over here. Let me go ahead and get a bucket fill of some kind. We'll do white. That'll work. So that's where we're going to put our fuel tank at. Let me go ahead. We closed Minecraft here. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And then while it's launching, I'm going to go figure out what my dog kind of wants here. Looks like my dog just wants to go outside. I'll let her out after we're done with these recordings. Hopefully there's enough sunlight out there for her to be happy. It's been rainy all the last couple days, and all she wants to do is go outside and lay out in the sun and stretch out. And I kind of feel bad for not being able to just let her out whenever she wants. But unfortunately, we've got this like weird law here where we're at, where you have to be paying attention to your pet when it's outside. So I can't just like leave an unattended pet out there. It's a little strange. So we got our fuel tank here, and if we still have this open, which we do, I can go ahead and copy this part. And then we'll just downscreen it, and we'll paste that in there. So there's our normal fuel gauge. It's actually pretty large when you look at it. We do want to get rid of... I don't want to get rid of the whole weight off. Did I really paste that in the whole layer? Okay, can we do something like this? No, it'll grab everything. This needs some better tools. So I want to say we grab these part, because that's about roughly what we're size-wise are. There we go. That looks kind of really nice when you look at it. So we can get rid of the rest of this. Then we need to make a background edge behind this. So first things first, I guess we just want to go and grab, say, that little pixel edge there. Zoom in here and just kind of draw a border around the edge of this. We're probably gonna have to adjust this a few times, but I'm just gonna get it going for this, and then we'll switch to something else here. If I can draw, actually. The control back part is like really crummy. It's usually the reason I use paint too, because you can like right click to like get rid of things, but GIMP doesn't have that feature. It's unfortunate too, because it's a really useful feature. Unfortunately, I have a really crummy mouse, and on top of that, my hand doesn't work very well, so trying to draw straight lines just does not work. There we go. So that gets us that normal edge there, and then if we go here and we grab that, then we can bucket feed. Oh, it's just gonna run the wrong layer. So you can bucket feed that layer real quick, so we get that dark conventional background here. And if we open up Minecraft, because I want to open this up so I can compare the GUI size real quick, so we can get an exact where everything is. So if we open this up, okay, so I got really close. If we actually open this up, and we don't need that. If we open this up and we compare it, I got really close to where those slots are. I just got to zoom out here real quick to about 100%. Oh wow, that's not going to help at all. 200% maybe? That's close, yes. So I got really close to where those two slots were. And I'm somewhat close. So this will work because we're going to get rid of that text there. But we might want to make the fuel tank a little larger. We'll get it working first, and then we'll go from there. So we'll go back into our Zoom 800 so we can finish up the tank. Now keep in mind this is going to be layered, so I'm actually going to have to pull these red stripes back out of this in order to get my layered effect. Because remember, we're going to have to render the background, then the fuel, then the fuel gauge. Because we don't want to render the gauge on the other side of the fuel, because then you won't see the gauge and you won't get that indication of that percentile separation. Not that it's really going to help you, but we'll work on it. Because how many? What we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the number of gauges we have in the first place isn't really going to help, but visually somebody will figure out how to use it, and they'll figure out how to work with it and stuff. And that's kind of what we're making it for, is people that are going to get that little bit of extra bonus out of that having that fuel gauge. Unfortunately, my dog is going to sit here and whine behind me until I let her outside. And when I know this, she doesn't want to go to the bathroom out there. She wants to literally lie on the couch that's out there, or that little sofa thing we have. And she will whine and act like she's dying until I let her out. Come on, Taz. Come on. Chill. Like, wait to the end of the I'm done video. Pets sometimes. No. Don't snap your teeth at me. We'll have to hurry this up, I guess. Taz, no. Unfortunate things. Okay, so we're almost done here. So we got, that looks nice. So now we just need to get this separated off here and cut that. And then we're going to go right down here to below here at the bottom. And we want to put it kind of not at the edge, but close. Actually, what is our GUI size right now? I think, yeah, we're at 1 pixel per pixel. Okay. And now I need to copy these out. Taz, what did I just say? I'll cut the video here, and I'm going to let my dog outside so she stops whining. Okay, so we're back here. So my dog did not want to go outside. She just wanted me to feed her again, which is not going to happen because I've already fed her twice today, which is twice the amount I normally feed her, and yet she wants more food. Pets. Anyways, continuing here. So we need to separate out the bar here, put it down pretty much down here somewhere. Kind of getting it lined up so that way we don't have to really think about it too much, and then we just need to fix the hole we just made here. And we just need to get rid of... I think I just made a mistake here. Yeah, there's not enough room there, so we have to put it over here. They don't really give you a lot of room in the GUIs, and the GUIs have to be a certain size. So you get this 256 by 256 little thing to work with. Actually, I think it's even smaller than that, but you get basically a box to work inside of for your GUIs. Now, you can make additional GUI textures and layer them into each other, which is what I normally do, but for this one, we're just trying to put components inside here. So yeah. Unfortunately, I think if I do that, yeah, hold on. We'll just bucket feed it real quick, then we'll hit delete, then we'll bucket feed it back in. Untexture on that. Apparently those corners were also the same color, which I guess kind of works. So we got these lines here. I think I'm going to go ahead and shorten it a little bit. I kind of almost feel like I need to invert this, and it would look a little better. But I don't have the time to screw around with it too much. So that'll work. We're gonna hit File, Save, and then we want to hide that layer because we're rendering that in real time. Save again, and then we want to export as fuelgen.png. Export, export. That way we get these down at the bottom of our picture. So if we go in here and we open this up, we should have this down there. So we can close this. And I'm going to leave that one open, but I'm going to close that one. And now we just got to get this imported in here. We are going to have to restart the game to get this to work. Oh, we have our buttons up here. I should have did this. So it'd be GUI left. Y equals GUI top, I believe this is. Let's fix this before we restart real quick. So we restart that, and if we reopen, that should be right there. We need to make it go right there, so this actually needs to be like about 3.3. Reload that again. Cool. And that works. They're both disabled. This one needs to be inverted. Cool. So we can hit that and turn it off and turn it back on. And we're sending our description packet, so I mean we should have got a... Oh yeah, we need to do a state update on this. Okay. That's something we're missing. I believe this is done in the update method. Yeah, right here. So we're going to copy that. We'll have to put this in. We'll have to restart for this to take effect. So put that there, do that. This will be generator. Cool. Okay, so we'll go ahead and restart Minecraft, and we'll get our fuel tank in there. So for the rendering of the fuel tank, so we're doing our background here. If we go to the super, we should see this right here. So we already have our texture bound, so we don't need to rebind it. Yeah, we actually don't need to bind it, so we're just going to get rid of that. Okay, now this is going to draw a rectangle of X at X and Y location with the U and V on the texture sheet and width and height. So we want to render this somewhere. I'm trying to think of like where we want to render this precisely. I think we do we actually need to pass in an exact location? Well, we'll find out in a second. So we're just going to do this 0, 0 real quick. Our UV is definitely not 0, 0. It is 0 on the X, but on the Y it is... We can probably figure this out. It's 167. I think that's what we want. It might be wrong on that. So this would be... That's U, and then this is 167. And then our X size, which will go back to the GUI for this. we copy this whole thing. Okay, we are 98 or 94 pixels wide, 50 pixels tall. And this is going to be the same thing for our texture to the right. So we're going to do this real quick. So here, we've done our background, so this will be our background render. And now we're doing the gauge render. So let's go ahead and copy this. And then for our UV, we want to do 94, probably 95 actually is where we want to put it. Yeah, we want to do 95. That'll get our gauge. Ah, whatever that code is I have is still sticking around, unfortunately. So that'll get our gauge. We'll get that. We'll render that. Then when it comes to our fuel, how we're gonna do our fuel is gonna be a little strange. Essentially, we're gonna bind the texture for the fuel, and then we're gonna render it over the whole thing. I think is how we're gonna do it. I gotta see if that'll work. If that won't work, then we're gonna have to come up with a better solution. The better solution would probably be is we create a grayscale texture fuel right next to our thing, and then we just color it. Most of the fluids in the game are just recolored lavas or recolored water, so it's not too hard. But yeah, we'll get that worked on. So we come in here. Aha, we have all kinds of fuckery going on here. We want to render this up here after we render our super. The reason why is we're rendering our slots here. And we're going to do something like this real quick so we can break this up visually so it's easier to tell there's a difference between each section. It's a really nice trick to start using. And then you can go like right below this, it would be like fuel render code. And then we reload that and we should get something a little nicer looking. Or we're not going to get anything at all, which is cool, I guess. We messed something up. Oh, we haven't bound our texture. Yeah, we should have, at least these are working. No power, no power, that's working, cool. I gotta restart again because I forgot to bind the texture. So this would be public, static, final, resource, location, just call it texture, equals new resource location, survival mod.domain. Yeah, that'll work. And then we just want to do something like that. Does that come with the end on that? Yeah, it does. Cool. So now we just need to go grab the name of this real quick. I believe we do need the PNG to go with it. That'll give us our fuel path, and then what we need to just go is this dot, not base texture. We need to go to the super here. I need to see what it actually calls. It does call base texture. Huh. Did not know that. Even though I made it. This is the problem with having code that you've written like 5 to 7 years ago. Because I mean, I've been modding since 2011, and I've got code in these projects basically from that far back. So that means I've got 6 years and so amount of code in here, and you always forget what you have. It's one of those really strange things. I'm pretty sure we got this spot right. Cause that's 0167. Oh, yeah, we didn't bind our texture. We were just over that. Okay, relaunch the game. Fortunately, this means this video is going to be only about the stuff. I'll have to do another video here when we get the ICBM. It's this downside about working on some of this stuff is you're like, oh, this is only going to take me like maybe 5 hours to do, and then you end up like spending like 20 hours doing it. Actually, it hasn't really been that long. It's the amount of time I've worked on the fuel generator, but the analogy's there. You make a wrong estimation, and then you spend way too much time on there. client's going to be lucky on that one because I basically undercharged him for the amount of hours I've spent on this, and I won't change it though. But the good thing is that I've undercharged him on everything technically because all the code I'm using on here, he doesn't have an exclusive thing on the code, so I can take all the code and go take it to another project. With the only thing is I've basically agreed to is that I make sure that visually the content is exclusive for his stuff. And that's only for the stuff that is in his mod, of course. So I don't go in, take his models or something that is made for him, and I go use them in another mod. Even though he doesn't own the models or anything, it's one of those kind of, I'm trying to think of a word for it. It's not legal, because we don't have any legal binding contract that says I can't do it. It's more of an honorable thing where you're just kind of going like, yeah, I'll make sure I don't reuse your content. Although we do plan to make campfires and stuff later, so I mean, he's not going to get that exclusiveness. It's just the models aren't going to look the same. Functionality, they're going to be way different too, because one of the campfires we have planned is going to have, like, you put a pot above it. You'll be able to cook different foods in it. You'll be able to do various things with it. It'll provide warmth and heat. You can literally put it underneath a boiler and it would power a boiler. That's one of the plans we got for campfires down the road. That's going to actually feed into our heat system, is how it's going to work. So it's going to generate heat, and then we're going to program lava to generate heat too. Although the lava part's going to be different because it's not going to produce heat directly itself, even though that's kind of how it works in real life. We got to program it differently because, of course, lava is a block, not a tile entity, so it can't emit heat on its own. So we have to then go into the heat registry and go, okay, if you detect a lava block at this spot in the world, just constantly emit like 100 joules of heat or something every single tick. That way, if you put a boiler above lava, then that boiler is getting 100 joules of heat from that lava block or something. And it wouldn't be 100 joules, by the way. It's just that's an example I'm using. It's probably going to be a lot more. Although we do have plans to suck the heat out of the lava, so there's going to be a passive heat level, and there's going to be an extreme heat level. The extreme heat level will actually degrade the lava, and it'll turn into obsidian over time. Because you're literally sucking the heat out of it until it cools down and turns into basically a lava rocks, which is what obsidian is. Okay, so we got our generator. There's our fuel tank. We just now got to position it. Now I need to figure out if I need to actually position this appropriately. So it is going from the 0, 0 corner, so I'm going to say the answer is yes. So we're going to go int x equals GUI left, int y equals GUI top. And then we want to go, okay, x, y, and then x and y. Okay, that brings us down here. And it also ensures our stuff is behind it, so that's kind of nice. So we're going to want to bring it over about 100 and down about 50. And hopefully this resizes properly. We'll check this in a second. Oh, that's too much. I overestimated. This is a normal theme, actually. Wow, that's really close. I want to bring it over more here. Probably like 70. That's perfect, actually. We just want to bring it up, and we want to get rid of that text display. So we no longer want this, which means we don't want any of this stuff anymore. That'll be part of the tooltip, basically. So that's gone. Now we want to line the bottom of this up with the bottom of the tank. So that means Y level, we're going to want to bring it up. That's perfect. That looks really nice too. We just now get to get the fuel display rendering. So, this is the tricky part. Because we got to figure out some way to render that fuel in there. See what we got available to work with. Rec with scaled width. See what that ends up with. Draws a rectangle with an increased or decreased width value. Okay, that might work. But it's not what we need. Got a lot of draw code in here. I actually want to migrate almost all of this draw code over to helpers because you could use this stuff in outside of the GUI stuff. So if I wanted to render a gauge on a side of a block, you could actually reuse that code to do that same exact stuff. Because we're just running an OpenGL, so that'll work. We need to render an icon is what we got to do. But I'm trying to think of how to do it. And I can't think of an easy way to do it. So I'm going to go with plan B just to save time. And that's where we're going to basically just copy this real quick. And I'm going to actually do this real quick. I'm going to put this over here. Oh, what, did you not really copy? Okay, I'm on. Okay, we're on this layer. I want to copy. And I want to paste. I want to bring this over here. Except I want to paste it on a different layer, which you're not going to let me do. What? What is it with this? I don't get this sometimes. Like okay, I've copied here. We go to a different layer, we paste, and there's nothing to paste. It's like it doesn't understand what I'm trying to do. Okay, so copy, paste. Of course that's not going to work. So what I want to do is I want to put a background behind this right here so I know where the edge of that is, and of course this is not going to work. It's just going to give me an empty rectangle every single time. Okay, so plan B, we just do this, then we just drag this over, so we got a bounding box, then we go here, and we just dump that behind there. And if I hide, you know what, the reason I couldn't find any of that stuff, I feel stupid. Okay, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Hidden layers are bullshit. I blame myself for that. Interesting is the thing, you get to watch me be stupid for like 5 minutes. Those who don't say smart people can make mistakes, well, yeah, I just kind of royally screwed up on that. We don't have enough space. Because what I need basically a ton more space, and there's just not enough room for it. So we're just going to have to say the gauge is only going to be so wide. So how wide are you now? You are you're 19 pixels wide. So we're going to say, okay, you're, yeah, 19 pixels, that'll work. Okay. So that'll save me a lot of space there. Actually, we're going to go like 20 just to be safe. And then now we need to just, right on that same layer, paste that back in there. And that's where we're going to put our fuel in there. So we're going to need to figure out how we're going to do this precisely. And I'm going to go and find my asset directory, which is all the way up here at the top. And we're just going to go grab like water or something. Oh, that's right, water has animated. This is the reason why I wanted to just use the texture if I could pull it off, but I don't have the code on hand to do it. So we're going to just have to just kind of wing it. That is too big, actually. Put that over there. So we're just going to have to make our own little texture here. It's not going to look as good. There's going to be some duplication in it, and then we'll probably come through and randomize it real quick. That way it just kind of layers a little better, so we don't get this distorted mess. And we'll have to grayscale it too on top of that. So we're going to go like this. And we're going to go, okay, color eyes. I don't want to do that. I want to take the saturation completely out of it. Bring the lightness up. Okay, cool. Yeah, that looks like crap, but in-game it'll look a little better. So file, save. We want to hide that layer right there, and then file, export as field generator. Cool. And we're going to close this because I'm basically done with this. Okay. So we need to call this same render here, except we need to get the position here. The position should basically be 95 plus 20. We'll reposition it as we go. We then need to recolorize this. And then we need to reset the color down here. So this color is going to be whatever color the fuel is. So go color equals something. I'm going to go if generator dot tank dot get fluid does not equal null. Shoot, it's an int. It's an int value. I think I could just do new color dot right here, and this will work. So new color. Be color. Make sure we import the right thing. We want Java AWT. And then we're going to have the fun time of dividing the colors. So we want color.getRed divided by 255F, and we just got to repeat this for each color we want to add. So RGB, so green is next, and then it's blue. There you go. That should work. We should get a color application to it as long as the color was set appropriately. I'm actually going to do this. So go fluid registry. The colors aren't set. So this is the reason I want to just use the texture, because technically this would have a texture. What does get color come to default? So we're going to do this real quick. So I'm going to go, okay, if there's no easy way to do this. So we basically want to get an int value. So we'll copy this out. So we'll go like int c equals that. And then we want to go if c equals this, then we're going to want to come up with some color. So first we want to go if c doesn't equal. Yeah, we actually want to make this null. If c doesn't equal our value, then we want to, of course, utilize said value. So color equals new color C. And then we would go else if tank, or we want to go if generator dot tank dot get whatever. We need to get the fluid. Fluid. While we're at it too, we need to get the volume. Actually, we can get that volume separately. So we got a fluid, then we get a fluid dot get color. And we want to get if fluid dot get name dot equals ignore case lava. Then color equals color dot red. This is more or less like dependency handling, kind of. We actually don't care if this code even runs. It's just here in case stupidity. And the last one is fuel. So if we get our fuel, then it's yellow. I'll probably have to come back through here and I'll probably have to make a texture for this because I'm going to assume the client's going to go, that doesn't quite look right. And then I'll be like, well, yeah, it doesn't really look right, but we'll have to do that here in a second. So we're going to go ahead and just render this, but we do need to get the volume, so we're going to do like volume needs to be say generator dot tank dot get fluid amount. And we're going to have to do some kind of percentile thing. So actually, this needs to be a float volume render. And this needs to be divided by generator.tank.get capacity. And then the back one needs to be times by float. Actually, times them, or cast them both by float. And that'll get us a better handling. And then which one of these is our height value? But we'll do that in a second. So we have to restart this because we messed around with the textures and stuff, and the textures don't reload easily. Almost done though. Cool thing is I can take this code when we're done with it and migrate it over to other mods. So if we decide we want to do some tanks or some various other things, I can add some renders for them. So we'll have to work on the render code because I want to be able to render the texture for the fluid. So if we get some really funky fluid that has some awesome texture to it, you're gonna want to render that awesome texture. Say like Ender whatever from thermal expansion. That's got a cool texture to it. Or the radiation or nuclear waste from Atomic Science had that disgusting looking texture. That would be cool to render. I don't know if we're going to keep that texture either, because nuclear waste doesn't exactly look like that. Kind of just looks like water-ish. Wow. We're thinking of nuclear sludge, I guess. I'll figure it out. Doo-doo-doo. Speaking of which, I still got other things to do today. But, damn. So one of the downsides of waking up really late in the day is you run out of time to do things. So the plan was to make like 5 videos today, and I think I'm only going to maybe hit 2 if I'm lucky. Probably only this one if things don't go so well. And then, yeah, I got to do chores. I still have to plan out some business meetings. I hate the fact that I'm trying to turn my organization into a business. It's tedious. There's all this stuff you got to do. But if all goes well, then all the mods will be protected from being damaged, destroyed, sued, stuff like that. So they'll continue to exist way past the time I make them, which is what I want to hopefully do. I want these mods to continue to exist like till the point Minecraft pretty much is dead, which is going to be, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years. It'll be a while. There's not quite another game that meets Minecraft's glory, I guess you can put it. I don't got a better word for that. Man, this is taking forever to load. I really need to make a mod that edits this screen and gives more detail to it, so I know exactly what it's stalling on. Because it's like reloading sound handler, but it's like, what are you doing? Are you loading sounds, or are you having problems loading a single sound? Or is it just the sound files are big? Especially when you hit, like, if you guys have played Chromatocraft, that thing's got so much audio in it that it takes a while to load. Great mod though. I give Rake that. He managed to make an amazing mod. Okay, so that worked. We need to push it over one. So XYZ needs to go over. Looks like crap though, but can't exactly help that one. Fuel gauge needs to be knocked over one as well. Cool. Now we need to get our volume rendering. So our volume rendering is actually going to be pretty straightforward. One of these is our height, which is this one right here, and you just go like that. Well, you do a little bit more than that. Math.sil. So you fix rounding errors, and you got to cast it to an int. Okay, so it's rendering the wrong position though. So we need to. Okay, well, we need to get this volume. So we want to go int render height equals that. Then you want to go, okay, render height. But then when it comes to the y value, you need to go plus 50 minus render height. I think it's how the math works. We'll have to test it. Okay, so we got that, and we add a bucket. We add another bucket. It's going up. Add another bucket. And we gotta duplicate this. Bucket, bucket, another bucket. So it is rendering properly. Now we gotta resize it and check to see if the resize works properly. So far, no real major issues with that fuel gauge. So that's nice. Now we just need to do the tooltip. So we need to go, okay, if you're hovering over it, you get a tooltip. This one's going to be tricky. So there should be a handler for render tooltip already, so we just got to find it. Of course, you're going to just give me back what I have here. Okay, you're the wrong method anyways. So I think it's like draw tooltips. Okay, so I want to figure out precisely how this works for one. Okay, so we're going to need to get a rectangle to work with. And then we're just going to kind of have to kind of work on this, I guess. I'm pretty sure we draw it in the foreground layer, but I could be wrong. It's import class, rectangle, is an X, Y, and Z value. I don't know why I didn't import these for. So we just kind of want to go check to see if our mouse is over top the spot. We just kind of want to draw the tooltip. And then we need pretty much this X location. So that gets our X and Y, and then we want display.length, so we want our width value. So we're going to go int W, and then we just want to put a W value there. And our width is, I believe, 95. So this will be, wow, this will be W. Y, it's not 9, this is going to be our height, so we want to go int H equals. And our height is, that doesn't look right. Oh, these are UV positions. Our height is actually the back two pieces, which is 94 is which our width is, and then 50 is our height. It's imported the wrong. Cannot be applied to JW point. I hate how this works. IntelliJ likes to import the entire JWT package, no matter what you do. And I'm like, I only want to import color. It's the only thing I'm using in this entire package. Yet you want to import everything. So watch, we'll import AWT there, and watch it do it again. And I can do like color here, and then if I re-import package, it does. It's pre-programmed to do that, and it's really annoying. Because I have quite a few classes that are named the same, and I barely use AWT because, I mean, it got outmoded pretty quick. And there's only like a few things in it that are useful, like things like color, but even then color is not exactly that useful. We want to get our height here. The X and the Y here are probably going to need to be changed, but we're going to figure this out here in a second. So this will be, yeah, see, we go up here. Oh, it actually is working. Click to change unit. So what we want to do is we want to go render a fuel, so I'm going to go, okay, and do volume, and we want to go whatever our volume is, so I'm going to go something over something. Actually, we don't want to do that there, because we just want to say it's empty if you hover over it. So I'm going to go, okay, if fluid doesn't equal null, and we don't want the fluid with the fluid stack. So I'm going to go if that does not equal null. Okay, apologies for that. So fluid dot amount is what we want to render here. And then we want to go okay the slash, and then we want to go okay generator dot tank dot get capacity, and then plus MB for millibuckets. And then if we reload, there we go, volume. We could actually round that too if we really wanted to, but we're not gonna. That'll render perfectly, and we just need to resize to make sure that continues working. Oh, that's nice, and we're not even getting any lag delay from recreating the rectangle each time, so we're just going to leave that how it is. And then we're just need to do a fluid tooltip. And then we want to do, say, plus 20. No, we want to do... Now this one needs to be the 10, this one needs to be the 20. And this will be fluid. And then we just want to display whatever fluid is. So it'd be fluid dot get localized name. Oh, those render over top of each other. Okay, how's draw tooltip set up? We're going to do it this way, because I don't want to screw around with this too much. To go like, yeah, so that much is what you have in there. You got lava. Cool. We'll have to come back later and maybe clean it up a little bit so it looks a little nicer. But then we want to just go with this real quick, and we just want to say empty if we have no fluid in there. And we'll place a new generator to get that working or tested. And look, our 3D model, by the way, is in the right spot we were testing earlier, or roughly in the right spot. I think it needs to still go down by another pixel. And yep, empty. And then we can do tooltips for the slots here. So we can go, okay, this is your input slot, this is your output slot. But we're going to do that in another video here. So I'm going to call this into this video, and that's pretty much it.